Welcome to Monoscore. Today, I'm going to be talking about Mothman and how you can put him into your D&D game as an encounter. If you don't know what D&D is, as I can't help you, man. Go online, figure it out. I believe in you. It's popular enough. And I'm excited to finally be talking about it on my channel. I'm going to be doing this video in 3 pretty distinct parts. First, we're going to be going over some Mothman sightings and different places where people have sort of chronicled the sort of phenomena of seeing a big, flyy, spooky boy in West Virginia. After that, I'm going to sort of make a list of different things that are pretty consistent throughout all of those different sightings, or just shit I think is cool. I don't really care. And then, using that list in our third little part of the video, I'm going to help you make your own little combat encounter so all your players can fight Mothman. It's gonna be sick. It's gonna be great. You excited? I'm excited. So let's just go for it. Sighting 1, right? A first contact. Happens on November 15th, 1966. A couple from Point Pleasant claims to have seen a 6 or 7 foot tall bird-like creature. They go back and forth between bird and man. They said it looks like a sort of gray man with wings and glowing red eyes and about a 10-foot long wingspan. In the following weeks, a good couple more sightings of the same general description come up. And at the same time, the Batman TV series from the 60s is very popular. You know, the one where they like give him the tiny little eyebrows with all of like the sort of weird awkward tension between all of the actors because they have to keep it child friendly, but also it's Batman.
Some days you just can't get rid of a bomb.
Yeah, that one. I like it a lot. Some people call him Mothman, just as a play on bats, you know. After about 8 more sightings, there's quite a few sightings in these early days. It's pretty sweet. But that's generally all of the information that we get from those, easily enough. One other last thing to say is that this Dr. Robert L. Smith has the audacity to say that they're actually just seeing a sandhill crane. Disgusting. Can't believe someone would do this. Finally, our last little piece of evidence for this part of the video. John A. Keel's The Mothman Prophecies. I read this book. Pretty understandably, this is where Mothman is like... This is what made Mothman popular. Plain and simple, right? Made him mainstream. Now, a lot of it, the actual book itself, is just not about Mothman. It's mostly just about Mr. John Keel's time in Point Pleasant and all the weird stuff that happened there. It's hard to say where the line between things being fictionalized and genuine is. I feel like maybe he overplayed certain things but that's just me. I'd say it was a good book. It was a good read. Just as a warning, it's from 1975, so it is written with a bit of outdated language that can be pretty offensive. So if you're gonna read it, it's just word of warning. Come in with a bit of a prepared mind for some stuff like that. But beyond my short little book review of the Mothman Prophecies, within it there's a couple interesting sightings that are a bit harder to find outside of the context of the Mothman Prophecies. Not saying that I just don't believe that these are like sightings or whatever, but they're just a bit less credited. A couple of my favorites are when Mothman drained dogs and cattle of all of their blood. Not eating any of it, just taking the blood for something. speaking of blood, when it chased a sort of like Red Cross blood drive truck around the county at like around 70 miles per hour. What's it doing with all that blood? I don't know. And again, chased just a random car around 70 miles per hour. I think that's like the high speed for 70 cars. I don't know. That's for some reason both were at like 70. Or finally, one of my favorites. When he would just like around sightings, people would just have areas where they would get supernaturally afraid of nothing, which is really cool, right? And I really wish that that was like a big part of what people think of when they think of Mothman, right? Just like randomly, for no reason, there's just this little space. And when you get in there, you get just absolutely terrified and you have no idea why. I love it. I think it's awesome. So, with all these different sightings and stuff, we can paint a pretty clear picture about the general consensus on what Mothman X looks like, whatever. So, here's my quick little list of Mothman characteristics. Around the size of a human, right? 6 or 7 feet tall, gray, glowing red eyes that maybe can transfix or hypnotize people. Huge wings, about 10-foot wingspan is the consensus. The sort of fear AoE that it does, I just think that's cool. I just want to talk about that more. And finally, whatever it does with blood, I don't know. There's blood, he takes it. It does something with it. Never really got all that specific. Okay, so we got this nice little list. Woo. Look at it. It's beautiful. I'm so proud of myself for making it. Let's translate it into an encounter. I mean, the first thing you need is a stat block. Usually, you get one of those from here, or a similar book. But there isn't an official Mothman one, so you're gonna want to pull one from like the internet or make your own. I would highly suggest making your own. Seriously, making your own stat blocks for monsters can be really rewarding, I think, because you kind of get to show off to your friends while you're playing, right? You get to show off all the cool mechanics that you came up with, or I don't know, cobbled together from different YouTube videos. So here's a couple of mechanics in this YouTube video that you can use to cobble together your own Mothman. You're gonna want to come up with your own sort of Mothman canon, right? A lot of these don't line up together, right? The fear thing doesn't happen in any of the sightings with the blood stuff, right? And sometimes, and in a lot of sightings, people will be like, "Oh, it looked like it had moth-like features. Oh, it looked like it didn't have a head at all." And different people will believe different things about what the Mothman is. Is it just an animal? Is it an alien? Is it some sort of spirit? That's kind of the beautiful thing about being a DM, is that you get to decide. You get to choose what Mothman is and what they look like. There are a couple things, though. It's probably important that it still looks like Mothman. Yeah, I mean, if you make it a moth furry, people will pretty easily figure out, oh, Mothman. But it also could be good to mix in some of the actual folklore of Mothman into this sort of encounter. It's just important that it's fun both for you and for your players. So try not to overthink. Okay, with that all that out of the way, let's get into some of the fun ideas. Fun ideas for what is the sort of Mothman Build-A-Bear workshop that we got going on here. There's a couple things that you can stick on them. A hypnotic gaze type thing, right? That shows up a ton in a lot of sightings. He's got these big glowing red eyes, and when people stare into them, they get transfixed and they feel like they can't move. that's not too hard. There's a ton of creatures already in D&D that do that. But a couple options would be charming them, and then as long as they are charmed, they can't move. And then a couple other things, maybe as an action directs one creature or does like a cone area of effect, and then everybody in the cone has to make some sort of save against being charmed, or it could just be a passive thing. Anybody that sees the eyes at all has to make a saving throw, which could be very, very powerful, but pretty cool, I think, and an interesting mechanic. Next one I have written down as spooky and then a ghost emoji. I don't know what I was thinking when I wrote that on my script. It's the fear thing I was talking about. Basically, make people scared for no reason and just confuse them a ton. I like it. I think it's cool, and there's a couple interesting ways that you could do this in D&D, and it's a very interesting mechanic for combat, right? It just has this sort of area that it can designate, and anybody that's in that space has to make a save or be afraid. And if they don't know Mothman's there, they don't know what they're afraid of. And then, say you're in combat, right? You got this little circle. They don't necessarily know where it begins or ends. So then if Mothman moves it, they don't know where it is, and they have to try and figure out where it is so that they can go around it, and they can try and stay outside of it. It could be a really interesting mechanic to sort of center an encounter around. Okay, the last one that I want to throw at you, blood stuff. I don't know what it does, what the blood thing was about. Does it drink blood like a vampire? Does it use it for something spooky? People were talking about like demonic rituals because it was the 60s, so of course they were. Who knows? And you get to come up with whatever you want. So maybe when it damages people, it heals itself, or it gets stronger when it damages people. Maybe it can summon a couple devils or demons or whatever from that good old monster manual. There's plenty in there with blood. That could be really cool and could tell people about what kind of creature Mothman is if you decide that Mothman is a demon for some reason. So yeah, that's pretty much all of the ideas that I came up with. Feel free to stick them on to whatever Frankenstein you're making right now. I guess the final piece of advice for the stat block is to balance it for your party specifically. I mean, part of the reason why I think that making your own stat block is so good is because you can personalize it to whoever you're playing D&D with. You can make it so it works off of people's specific abilities in a interesting way, or somehow counters them in a fun way to make it harder. What's important is making sure that the actual combat is fun for you and fun for the people that you are playing with. So if it isn't exactly the same as all of the weird sightings where people claim to have seen a big moth guy, that's fine. It's for the sake of having more fun, which is the whole point, right? That's enough rambling, ranting, whatever. Let's get on to the encounter. You're probably gonna encounter Mothman in like a forest. You can always just have the party walk up to him, right? Maybe he's just sitting on a branch somewhere and they see him, and then Mothman goes and flies at him and attacks him. Roll initiative. But that can be kind of boring. I feel like we can do better than that. So here's a couple extra ways that you can have some more flavorful, interesting beginnings to Mothman combat. Maybe as the party sort of walking through the woods, they see some animal on the side of the road, drained of all its blood. Why would that be? Cue assumptions about vampires, obviously, but upon further investigation, following whatever trail you choose to have Mothman leave, they find Mothman draining another animal of all its blood. Roll initiative. This adds a couple interesting things. First of all, it gives the players a bit more agency over the combat, right? They're just not interested. They can keep walking, and then maybe you can try and throw a couple other things at them. More animals on the road, or other signs that there's a weird moth guy in the woods. And then if they keep ignoring it, you can either be like, okay, no combat, or okay, Mothman's standing on a branch, and then he attacks you. And then at least there's a bit of foreshadowing or whatever to the combat. Or if they do investigate, there's a chance they'll at least be able to try to like catch them by surprise or set some sort of trap. They'll come up with some sort of idea, or they'll just find them and hit them hard with a big stick. And with the blood stuff, that kind of paints a picture of your Mothman before they even see it or before they start combat. So now, first round of combat, they have some sort of idea of what they should try to do beyond hit it with big stick. Second idea is with the big spooky fear AoE. They're just walking along. Fear. Why am I afraid? I don't know. Mothman's there, sort of in the trees watching them. If they find him, you could have them run away or attack him. Now, again, this sort of paints a picture about the kind of abilities that this creature has before combat even starts, which is really cool, right? It gives them some stuff to work off of turn one rather than having to fish for answers. And again, if you want, you can maybe turn it into a chase scene, right? If Mothman flies away, maybe they'll chase after it. And if Mothman flies away, he doesn't come back, make him scared again. A myriad of things. Oh, you could even do both of those two at the same time. Assuming combat has happened, either the party has died, and then who cares? That's it. You're done. Or they won. And then you get to figure out what the hell happens when Mothman dies. Does he have loot on him? Is he just a corpse? Does it like dissipate into smoke or goop or light? That could all be interesting, right? Maybe that could tell them something about what it is. Maybe they could get some sort of clue about it. Maybe it has some sort of den that they could be led to with a horde in there. It really just depends on how it fits into your idea of Mothman and your idea of whatever setting you're playing in. Which again, is my favorite part about being a DM. So, if you like this video, if you want to see more like this, like, comment, subscribe. I'm gonna be making more stuff like this. I'm gonna be making more different stuff too. Maybe more gaming stuff. I really wanted to at least get one D&D themed type video out there. If this does pretty good, I'll make more about like Bigfoot, Loch Ness Monster, the Loveland Frog, the best cryptid. So, thank you all so much for watching. I hope you have a wonderful day, and just keep doing you. Bye.